Welcome to another set of Onshape tutorials. This tutorial assumes that you've already set up your Onshape account. It's going to take you through some of the basic settings and then just give you a very quick overview to where the key parts of the software are, ready for you to be able to draw some of your Bluetooth models as basic block models. So I'm going to click on the Onshape icon because it's one of my shortcuts. Otherwise, you just need to make sure that you go to onshape.com. as you can see up in the top left of the screen in your browser, and I'm going to click on sign in. So it's come up with my username. It's remembered my password because I've asked it to. This is where you type in your password. I would recommend that when you set up your account, you used your school email and your school password so that you're not going to forget those. I'm going to click on sign in and it will take me into my account. Now you can see here I've got lots of files and lots of folders that I've already produced. So here are some shortcuts to files that I've already created and a list of folders and files down here. This is likely to be blank for you if this is the first time that you've used Onshape. So before we go any further, I'm going to show you some of the settings that we need to make sure are correct so that when you're following the tutorials, everything will be to the right size and the right dimensions. So where your username is, if you left click on your username and then left click on my account, it will allow us to see information about you, but we're going to go through to preferences. So this is where we're going to set up the units of measurement for our Onshape models. Now it's useful even if your native language is another language other than English. It's useful for your teachers if they're helping you if you do have your Onshape running in English, because then they can understand menus and show how to help you. You may find if once you get used to the software and you're using it on your own, you might want to change that to your native language. In terms of units, we want to make sure that we're using millimeters. So you can click on the arrow and you can change. There's lots of old imperial units, but we're going to go for millimeters. Angle units are going to be in degrees, mass units in kilograms. Time format, that's up to you. I prefer the 24-hour clock. And when it comes to decimal places for the accuracy, this is really how it shows on screen. The accuracy of the software is kind of almost infinite in terms of its decimal places, but so as you don't sort of clog up the screen with lots of very long decimal numbers, I would change the length of decimal places to 2. Usually the default is 3. Change it to 2. And if you've then made any changes, make sure that you click on Save Changes. Because I haven't changed anything, that option's not available to me. In terms of mouse controls, these tutorials are set up for the Onshape default controls, so just leave that as it is. If you've done an awful lot of work in another piece of software, like maybe SolidWorks, you could change over to using the controls for that, but I would recommend you keep it to the Onshape defaults. Otherwise, some of the instructions that you get on the tutorials won't gel with the controls that you're using. So once I've gone through and changed those and I've clicked on Save, I can click back onto Onshape and it will take me back to my home screen. So for all of these files that I'm going to create, I want to put them into a folder. So I'm going to create a new folder. So click on Create, click on Folder, and I'm going to call this Bluetooth Speakers. So just type in Bluetooth speakers and click on Create. So you'll now see that I've got a folder here that I can put all of my Bluetooth speaker models in. I'm going to left click on that and it opens up, and as you'd expect, there's no documents in here at the moment. So let's create the first document. Just for demonstrating the key features of the software, I'm going to create a demo file. So I'm going to call this document demo, click on OK, and you'll see then that as it updates, we go into the design screen. So you can see my file is called demo, and you can see that it's in the Bluetooth speaker folder. Because this is a cloud-based piece of software, it's not saving files locally to the machine that you're working on. It saves them to the cloud under your account, so you can go back and use a different computer. It doesn't matter whether it's a Mac or a PC. There's even some limited usage on mobile phones and tablets that you can use. You can just log into your account through an internet browser and your files will be there. So in the middle of the screen, we've got our design area. We've actually got what are called 3 work planes. Think of them, if you like, as pieces of paper that we can draw sketches onto. These are the front work plane, the right work plane, and the top work plane. We can see them in the drawing area. They're also listed over on the side, and as I move across them, or I select them, or hover over them, you can see that they're highlighted with orange lines. We also have the origin, which is right in the middle of our modeling area. It's where those 3 work planes overlap. It's like the origin of the axis on a graph. And it's quite an important part of modeling, and as we go through some of the modeling tutorials, you'll perhaps realize how it's important that we take into consideration where the origin is, because it allows us to use things like mirror features. Over on the right hand side, we have a set of shortcuts, if you like, for different views, and we also have a little menu list that we can choose how we are viewing what we're modeling. We're not going to worry about that at the moment, but it's useful to know it's there. And you can see, if I hold the right mouse button down and I move the mouse around, you can see how the model views change, the work planes change in orientation, but also up here that changes as well, and we can use that for some shortcuts. So if I click on the front, it moves to the front, and if I click on it again, it goes to the reverse, so it flips around. Hold the right mouse button down to change it around. Along the top of the screen here, we've got various icons. At the moment, these are for different features that we can create or use. I'm not going to go through each individual one because you'll learn these as you go along and you probably won't remember them. But these are context sensitive, so depending on what's going on in the modeling area will depend on what icons are here at the top. So if I go in and create a sketch, so I can use the scroll wheel on the mouse to zoom in and zoom out. If I come to the front work plane, if I right click on that, I can select new sketch from the menu that appears. You now see that the sketch dialog is turned up here, and the tools have changed across here for the different sketching tools. And depending on how big your screen is will depend perhaps on how many tools you can see across the top, but they will be staggered under each other if your screen is a lot smaller. I'll give you an example of that over here where we've got the drawing tools. If I go to the rectangle drawing tool, if I click on the little arrow, there are different options underneath. So I can go from a corner rectangle, a center rectangle, or an aligned rectangle, which allows me to draw a rectangle at an angle. So if I go to the circles tool, you can see that I've got 3 different choices there. If I go to the polymer tool, you can see again that I've got different choices. So as your screen sizes may vary, you'll see that there may be different options under different stacked menu points, but I'll take you through those as we go through and do some drawing. So that's it for this tutorial. Just a very quick overview of the software. In the next tutorial, we'll look at creating a simple block model of the cylinder Bluetooth speaker.